Yes, among yourselves. All right, so this is an interesting faith. Again, 5 to 7 million people worldwide, even though it's only, 150 years old, something like that. It's funny, I wrote this down. How many did they say were in the United States? Didn't say. Because I got the blank here on my notes that I took it. I didn't put anything. There were originally 9. The number 9 is so significant to their faith. But there were originally 9 facilities. I want to say houses of worship because I really don't know what else to say. There's only 8 now. One of them got destroyed by an earthquake. But the one in North America, did anybody catch where it was? Chicago. Isn't that interesting? So for all of North America, Chicago. It's in Chicago. And so, it's right here in our own state. Okay. So based upon, the little bit that we all know now about this, what do you think is attractive about this faith to people? What is it that is going to draw people to this particular faith that you heard? Very much diversity, which isn't that one of the key words of our generation? Diversity, diversity, diversity. So a lot of diversity. What else?
I think one thing that's important, especially to the younger generation today, is having your faith reflected in your activities.
Mm-hmm.
So it's service.
Yes.
It doesn't sound like they just go meet to pray and then leave for the week.
Yes.
Traditionally, we've been guilty of that.
That's a very good point. So, their meetings, it's not really a worship service as such. When they come together, every 19 days, they're expected to assemble. It can be in someone's home, which most of the time it is in someone's home because there's only 8 locations across the globe. But the vast majority of that time is not spent on prayers or singing or hearing someone explain anything. It's on what can we do to help our community. And that is really attractive to a lot of people. A lot of people would see us talking about this stuff constantly, but doing very little of it. They spend the majority of their time on the implementation of a plan of how to make their communities better. And that's attractive to a lot of people. Those are some good points. Anything else?
In the book it said between 5 million and 7 million followers worldwide. In the United States, there are hundreds of Baha'i communities concentrated mostly in larger metropolitan areas of the country.
Yeah. You always get that one student that buys the book, thinks they know more than a teacher. No, it doesn't give a number. It just says there's hundreds of groups meeting in homes, primarily in metropolitan areas. And then there's those that have Google, and 180,000. Yeah. So it is a large and growing religion for sure. So these are some things that are very, very attractive. And so, when you look at the religious landscape, one of the things you have to acknowledge is there's just a lot of confusion out there. All these different religions, and then you get within one religion and it splinters into hundreds and hundreds of groups in and of itself. And we have to acknowledge that in Christianity. There's no way we can say we're united in Christ. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of religions within Christianity, from Presbyterian to Methodist to Baptist to Church of Christ to, just go on and on and on. And so the world looks at that and and sometimes it makes you want to pull your hair out. Well, here is a faith that says all of those different religions kind of come together in this one religion. And they don't really argue over your particular sacred text, such as the Bible or the Quran or whatever else. They say those are good books. Those are good books. They're just misunderstood books. And if you truly understood what those books were saying, they would say they're talking about this particular faith and how it all kind of comes together in the Baha'i faith. And so, as a universe that gets very frustrated with all the division, there's this hope of maybe this is what it's all talking about. So there's lots of different things about this faith that is very, very attractive to people. And it is drawing many, many people to it. Now, again, like any other faith, once you get down and really get into the minutia of it, you can discover the discrepancies and the problems within their own teaching. But these are some things that are very attractive to, I think, people in the world. I mean, when you talk about the oneness of God, the oneness of religion, and the oneness of humanity, I mean, that in a simple way, that's like, okay, that's what we all need to be talking about, right? Just bringing it all together and stop all the division. And so there are a lot of things that are extremely attractive about this faith. So, what we have done in all of these sessions is talk about, well, what are the points? If I were to talk to someone that is of the Baha'i faith, before we get into a knockdown, drag-out argument over our differences, what are some similarities? What are some things, and he just mentioned them, but I just want us to mention them once again. What would be some similarities? What would be a common ground that we could begin a conversation on? One God, yeah, that we too believe, and it's interesting how they, the Hindus, does anybody remember the number they gave for how many gods are in the Hinduism? It was 330 million or 380 million. It was something like that, but it was just an extraordinary number. Everything and everybody's a god. So, for them to say that's just a misunderstanding of that faith, that truly there is just one God. So, we can certainly find that common ground and talk about, the one God. What else?
Everybody's created the same.
Yeah. And so, and in the Hinduism, there was the caste system and all these differences. But, they believe that, we all are created, to be, equal. That there should not be, all these different groups and division. What else comes to your mind? Yes, sir?
He said the first thing that someone would do in that practicing religion, the first thing you do is get a morning prayer.
Yeah.
Get your mind right.
Yeah. And we talk about that all the time, don't we? I mean, and so we challenged ourselves in the different disciplines where they have moments and times during the day of meditation that you spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and you block everything out. And, I say my prayer in the morning, and I pray as I've got that long drive all the way from the outskirts of central Bethel to here, and I try to pray during those times. But, as soon as I walk through that door, or really as soon as I wake up, I got 2 kids that I kind of start solving their problems and hearing their problems. And then as soon as I come through this door, there's more things. So, in other words, we get busy. But they are just tune those things out and just kind of find your place in the universe or your relationship with your God or something. So beginning the day, ending the day in prayer are strong, things that we would say we have in common. Anything else?
I think when we have visitors, I think we should make them more welcome.
Well, that is a good point, Timmy, because they were talking about how, when you would go to their gatherings, that, everyone is made to feel extremely welcome because there's just, not a lot of judgmentalism that's going on and everything. So lots of good things there. Things that, you could find similarities in, and, that we should make our communities a better place, that we should volunteer, that we should, through our church and through different agencies in the community, get out there and get involved and participate in those things. Well, as he said, there are certainly points of contrast and there are significant differences. And I thought about this because, when you think about these different religions, every single one of them that we have studied, they all have some very good points about them. I mean, all the ancient documents and sacred documents, they all talk about good things. They basically all talk about that we should become a better people, a kinder people, a more giving people. Maybe not Hinduism so much because, they're like, you got what you got and you deserve it. And so, but most all the others. But there is one huge difference between our faith and all of these other faiths. I mean, you could take our Bible and the Quran and all these other documents, and you can find many of the same things, that we ought to be good citizens and we ought to love one another and take care of one another. I mean, all that's in there. Each document has prophets and teachers that are good people. But there's one thing about the Christian faith that is just simply the non-negotiable, and it is totally different than any other religious faith out there in the world. And what is that? Jesus, really the incarnation of Jesus, that God became flesh. That is different, and that's just simply the non-negotiable. There's no way around that. There's thousands of things that we can find in common or that we can all agree. We're just going to disagree about that. There's all kinds of stuff. But the one thing that is simply a non-negotiable is that God came to this earth in the form of Jesus, born of the Virgin Mary, that He lived His life and that He went to the cross. He died on the cross. The third day He rose from the dead, and that He lives today in heaven. And that is the difference right there, that you just can't get around. We can find a lot of common ground and try to make friends, but there's the rub right there. You just can't get around that one. So I simply say that to you to say, as he pointed out in the video, one reason that people get attracted to so many of these world religions is it seems like these people know so much about their religion. You go sit down and talk to them, and they're not like, I don't know, maybe I'll go find my priest and get him to explain that to you. They have answers to questions. And so I guess my encouragement to all of us would be, as I said, there's a lot of things you can say, yeah, I'm not sure that makes that big of a difference, and yeah, that's a good question, and all these other things. But when it comes down to Jesus, we've got to be prepared to talk to other people about Jesus, because that is the largest and biggest difference between our faith and all of these world religions. We got to know Jesus. We got to know everything that we can know about Jesus, and especially the miracle of His incarnation, becoming flesh, and His death, burial, and resurrection. I mean, you just can't say, I'm not sure about those things. To be a Christian, you got to know that, believe that, live that, and be able to communicate that. What time is that? The clock on the back? That clock's a goner, Paul. It's gone. Our time is gone. Okay, so there is that, and of course, with their faith, this one guy in the 1850 or so basically said, "I'm not the Messiah, but the Messiah is going to ultimately come through me." And then the guy that came after him basically proclaimed, "I'm the Messiah." That's problematic. Jesus warns us, be careful about people who make such claims. And then, of course, Paul in the book of Galatians says there cannot be any other gospel. So that's an extremely problematic thing that we would have to understand and be very, very clear on. And there are some other things as well. Well, that's just dipping our toe into the Baha'i faith. What you need to know, I mean, you can pretend like that's just, that's not anything, but that is an